right, welcome back into the First and 30 football show. Today, I want to be going over my NFL draft wish list. These are not necessarily realistic outcomes. Some of them are, some of them aren't. They're all somewhat possible, right? A greater than 0% chance. But some of these, obviously, it's not in the realm of reality. This is a fun video in terms of telling you guys my dream wish list for the NFL draft. Be sure to drop yours in the comments section down below. But let's start off with number one, right? My number one NFL draft wish list, I would love to see the coverage of it. I would love to see it on the field, is the Cleveland Browns draft both Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders. The thing with this trade is Houston, the Texans, did something somewhat similar a few years ago when they got CJ Stroud in Will Anderson. They had the number 2 pick in the draft, they drafted CJ Stroud, and then they traded up to number 3 to get Will Anderson Jr. The thing with that was Houston had an additional first rounder that year, so it was a little bit easier to make the move up. Cleveland would likely have to part ways with their second round pick, but it would be their second, 2026 first, and probably 2026 third, and then maybe you get like a 5th or 6th or something back. I know there's a draft trade calculator out there. I didn't use that before this, so we're just talking wish list items here. So however Cleveland has to get it done, that is something I hope that we could see. That would be a massive W. Travis and Shedeur back together in Cleveland to potentially change around that organization. Shedeur Sanders, I think he's a little overhated at this point. The guy is not the quarterback one in this draft class, and in terms of last year's draft class, is he probably 6 or 7? Maybe, but does that mean that he can't pan out at the NFL level? I know that everybody's willing to talk about the negatives of Shedeur Sanders, not super mobile, takes a ton of sacks, maybe has some arrogance to him, but I think there's some positives to Shedeur Sanders as well. Behind one of the worst offensive lines in all of college football in terms of, your powerhouse teams, he had over a 70% completion percentage. Doesn't throw a lot of interceptions, has a hell of an arm on him, can make deep throws for days, and does have some NFL level exposure to him. He's been in the bright lights for a long time now. He's used to being the quote unquote face of a franchise. He is used to being part of a program or team that needs turning around. Jackson State wasn't really anything. Colorado wasn't really anything before Shedeur and of course Dion and Travis got there. My point being, this is a guy who is already used to coming into a losing culture and being productive and turning it around to a winning team. Was Colorado in the college football playoffs with your Ohio States and your Georgias? No, they weren't. But were they in conversation to be for the first time in a very long time? Yeah, they were. And then pairing him with his college teammate in Travis Hunter, I don't think I need to sell Browns fans on Travis Hunter. The guy could play both sides of the football. He's Ohtani-esque in that way. Wide receiver, he's the best wide receiver in the class. Corner, he's the best corner in the class. That's not something you ever see. And I think he'd be used more as a wide receiver in the NFL. One, I think that's where he wants to play. That's where the money's at. Like, let's just be quite frank here. The guy's going to chase the bag. And while corners are starting to get paid, it's still not wide receiver realm. And Travis Hunter is a good wide receiver. The guy's got a really good nose for finding the openings in zone coverage. The guy has good yak ability. The speed is there. And he already has a connection with Shedeur, which could translate to the NFL level. And I'm not saying the Browns would win the Super Bowl in year 1, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to think that this team could make the playoffs in year 1 if they were to make a move like this. I mean, let's just map out their offense, right? They'd have to probably bring in a free agent running back. Maybe they bring back Nick Chubb. Let's just say that. That seems possible. Shedeur, Nick Chubb, Travis Hunter, Jerry Jeudy, who was just top 10 in the NFL in receiving yards, David Njoku. You got some guys like Cedric Tillman. You could bring back an Elijah Moore. The offensive line is decent. On the defensive side of the ball, you have Myles Garrett, you have Jeremiah Osoro-Koromoa, you have Denzel Ward, you have pieces. The Browns have been dealing with incompetent quarterback play. So Shedeur would be an upgrade to what you have. Shedeur is a better option than Kenny Pickett. Shedeur is a better option than Deshaun Watson. Shedeur is probably a better option, I would say so, than Jameis Winston. It'd be the best quarterback the Browns have had since Baker Mayfield. And the last time Baker was there, he took him to the playoffs once. And I don't even think, I think right now Browns fans are thinking maybe we were the problem. Shador and Travis back together in the NFL, it would be money. It would be ratings. It would be attention grabbing. It would be something for me to come up here and talk about with you guys. But also, it would be so fun to see. College teammates that dominated statistically together. Guys that clearly have a good relationship and a good friendship. Going from one school to the next. And then going from that school to the NFL. That is a story book that I would love to read. It is the #1 thing on my wish list. Number 2 is that the Ohio State wide receiver Emeka Egbuka goes to a contending team. You know, Travis Hunter, I do think is the #1 wide receiver in the class, but you could make a case for Emeka Egbuka. You really could, and I don't hear anybody ever making the case, so I'm going to sit here and just give you some things. Egbuka clearly went to one of wide receiver university, right? Ohio State. LSU's got the edge, but Ohio State's produced some great wide receivers, right? They got your Garrett Wilsons in the NFL. Marvin Harrison Jr. was a little disappointing last year. Jackson Smith and Jigba. You get what I'm saying. There are some really good wide receivers out of Ohio State. Emeka Egbuka, you could make a case, was better than some of those guys. And they're all highly touted NFL players. Egbuka has some similarities to JSN, where I think against zone coverage, this guy's an absolute killer. This guy can read zone coverage and find the open spot. You know, that gets called the Travis Kelce. It's Travis Kelce-esque, being able to read zone coverage. Egbuka could do that for days. Egbuka's got speed too, really solid yak ability, and there's a lot of teams that are contending that I think would really benefit from an Egbuka. And considering some mock drafts have him falling out of the first round, which I think is absolutely criminal and not a shot in hell that it happens, I think there's some contending teams that could use him. I think there's some non-contending teams that could use him. Would I be shocked if Dallas took him at 12? Not a shot. I wouldn't be surprised at all. As an Eagles fan, I'd be disappointed. I'd rather them take Matthew Golden, if I'm being honest here. Egbuka to the Broncos. Talk about an underneath weapon. You got Sutton and Mims on the outside. You draft a running back later. Maybe a Scatterboo, a Judkins falls into the second round. You get one of them. And then you got an Egbuka in the slot. Dominating. Leading your team in receptions if you're Denver. You take a look at a team like the Rams. You want a successor to a Cooper Kupp. And Devontae Adams only got how many years left on the deal? If you're the Rams, you probably go defense. But what a high-powered offense that would be if you added Egbuka. Matt Stafford slinging on the rock. And my favorite, the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens, Egbuka, that is a dream matchup. You want to close the gap on Kansas City? You want to close the gap on Buffalo? Egbuka, a dependable second wide receiver. Zay Flowers is an outside guy. But you give Lamar a guy like Emeka Egbuka, who, hey, 3rd and 5, get open. That's where this guy specializes in. And he won't just get you 5, he'll get you 12 to 15 on that play. Adding a weapon like that would make them dangerous. How about Houston? How about you pair him back up with CJ Stroud? I get it, Houston's got to work on the offensive line. But Tank Dell injured, Stephon Diggs gone. I mean, you traded for Christian Kirk, but is that a needle mover? Don't be shocked if Houston sniffs around at wide receiver. And especially if an Ohio State guy like Egbuka that CJ Stroud's got experience with is available. You know CJ is going to be petitioning for Houston to bring him in. And again, I think that this guy could turn out to be the best wide receiver in the class. And you send him to a good landing spot, that could be something special. The number 3 thing on my list is I want to see a big trade. Or 2, or 3. I mean, trades make the NFL draft uber exciting. And you look at the potential names that could be traded. Tyreek Hill was obviously on that list. Will Tyreek Hill continue to be on that list? I don't know. He's got some things going on. I'm not here to talk about them. But my point being, a big name wide receiver like Tyreek Hill could be on the move. The Dolphins, is their window of contention over? Is a team like New England with money to spend looking to pair Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs for Drake May? Maybe they don't want to trade him in division. Could a team like the Packers go out and acquire him? The Packers missed an opportunity on DK Metcalf. The Packers missed an opportunity on Devontae Adams. Do they go out and get a Tyreek Hill? Could there be another team that goes out and gets him? Maybe San Francisco gets him. You know, I don't know if they have the money to commit to him, but these teams, there are contending teams. The Broncos, you know, again, character flaws there. Trey Hendrickson of the Cincinnati Bengals, edge rusher, still doesn't have a deal. We're coming up on the NFL draft. Could we see a team like Detroit make a move for Trey Hendrickson, and then all of a sudden Cincinnati has 2 first-round picks to rebuild that defense? You know, that could be a real interesting proposition. Detroit gets Trey Hendrickson, and Cincinnati leaves the draft, the first round, with like a Jahad Campbell and a Shamar Stewart to head up their new young defense. That could be a win-win for both sides, and it would be a blockbuster move. Could we see a quarterback be dealt? Does Arizona decide, let's move off of Kyler Murray? And we all haven't known about it. Any of these big, massive trades that I'm throwing out there, oh my God, what did we just see happen type moment during the draft? As an Eagles fan, when we got A.J. Brown, that was one of the more exciting draft nights of my life. And apparently, Adam Schefter says the Eagles are going to make 1 to 2 trades. I don't think that it's going to be anything special. I think we're talking about wheeling and dealing thirds to move up into the second. But, a big draft night trade is, of course, at the top of my list. But as always, guys, these are just my thoughts. Be sure to leave yours in the comment section down below. What is 1 to 3 things you want to see happen during this NFL draft as a pure NFL fan? You can tell me what you want your team to do draft-wise, but the point of this video was more general NFL conversation. But I digress. If you love the NFL and you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit that button. I appreciate you guys' support. Leave the like button on this video. We got more NFL content coming for you guys. I appreciate you guys again. Peace.